Country Superstars 1023. Good morning. It's the Joco Morning Show. And Melissa Overton of medicaltraining.me in studio once again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Here to talk about CPR, something that you want to know, but you hope to never have to use, right? But things happen. What is the key thing to know about CPR?
Well, the key thing is to get certified when you get an opportunity. But if you can't, bad CPR saves lives every single day. So one of the major fears that we think about is, oh gosh, I don't want to do it because what if I do it wrong? What if they die? The truth is, sadly enough, that person is already dead. So you're going to make this situation better or no worse. So it's important that you call 911 and put them on speakerphone because they're going to walk you through what to do in those moments while help is coming. But what you do in those first few moments is going to literally make the difference in between life and death, because by the time EMS arrives, often it's too late.
And when you're giving CPR, really what you're doing is just keeping the blood flowing, and that's why it's so critical to do something.
Right. So we talk about the fact that your heart is actually an electrical system and it's a pump system. So when life starts and a woman gets pregnant and she goes to get an ultrasound, what are they looking for on the ultrasound? The baby's heartbeat. Yes, good. Yay, Birdie. All right. Right answer. Good job. Okay, they're looking for a heartbeat. And we say that a baby is alive in a woman's stomach because there's a heartbeat there, nothing else. And so the most amazing thing about the human body is the fact that when life starts, the light starts. So that electricity starts firing, but the pump is going to keep it going. So when we talk about doing CPR in this situation, often something happens to the pump and all of a sudden it goes from pumping evenly to starting to quiver like a bowl of Jello jiggling, right? So if you think about a bowl of Jello and you bump it and it starts to jiggle, if you do nothing, what eventually happens to your Jello?
It gets still.
It stops. So when we're doing CPR, what we're telling people to do is 2 steps. Mid-nipple line are where they're supposed to be. And then we want you to push hard and fast on the center of the chest in that place because we want you to keep the Jello jiggling. Because the truth is when you're doing CPR, even if it's bad CPR, you're creating blood flow, but you also keep that battery light from going dead until someone can get there to restart the heart.
See, you mentioned, people being afraid of doing more damage. See, that's how I would feel. Right. So we should talk about more about that. 1023. Good morning. It's the Joco Morning Show. Brody, Carly, and Melissa Overton of medicaltraining.me. And when I think of CPR, I think of the movie Old School with Will Ferrell, where is he the one giving it or is he the one getting it? All of a sudden, he's daydreaming about making out with his wife, and then in real life, the guy's like, no, and he kicks him back into the pool.
Right.
So, but I would be afraid, besides making out with Will Ferrell, of doing damage when doing CPR.
You're exactly right. There are a few things that really stand out on why people don't start CPR, and if we really narrow them down to one category, I tell people it's fear and doubt. So one of the biggest things we're afraid of is, oh my gosh, what if I hurt them? Okay, when you do CPR, you will break ribs, but people live. They live to say thank you, right? It makes a difference in life and death. And I have so many people I can tell you about that they live because someone started CPR, they broke some ribs, but they survived it. I think one of the other things you kind of alluded to with the Will Ferrell thing is kissing on a stranger.
Yeah.
So I used to think that I was really one of those people that anyone that needed CPR is one of God's people. And so I would be willing to do what it takes to do mouth to mouth. But the truth is there's this piece inside your brain that is self-preservation that says if he's in the hunting aisle at Walmart with a mullet, cousin or not, I might not do mouth to mouth.
He might have cooties.
And cooties are real. So in that situation, those are things that kind of stop us from doing CPR, which goes back to that hands-only CPR I was explaining in the last break, is the fact that I didn't tell you had to kiss on them, right? I told you mid-nipple line are where they're supposed to be and make the Jello jiggle. So even if you're afraid to give the breast in that situation, it's completely okay to start CPR.
Now, if there's a cute person, you happen to be single, if you want to do the mouth-to-mouth, that's okay, right?
Do you really want to do mouth-to-mouth with somebody like Morgan Wallen?
One of the other things, sometimes we're afraid to start CPR because we're not sure whether the person's really dead. Being from Joco, one of the best lessons I was ever told is a paramedic came in and said he had to do something because they were doing the guppy. And I said, what? And he said, when you go fishing and you catch a fish and you throw him on the bank, how does he breathe? Like everybody thinks how that fish looks breathing. He says, is the fish going to live? I said, no, the fish needs to go in a pond. He said, good. If you ever see somebody that looks like a fish that needs to go in a pond, start CPR. They're dead. Changed my career.
Wow. This statistic that says women are less likely to receive CPR is just sad. Let's talk about 1023 in the Joco Morning Show with Melissa Overton of medicaltraining.me. And you were just saying something about women being less likely to get CPR. I don't know what guy would be like, I'm not going to do it, except unless he's with his wife and he's like afraid of getting her mad.
His wife is going to whoop his tail.
Is that real? I mean,
Yeah, women are actually 45% less likely to receive CPR in public.
Is it because women are the nurturing ones and we're the ones that are always going to help people, so we're not there to give the help?
That's a good theory, but that's not it. Brody, do you have a theory?
They're afraid of being accused of something, perhaps?
You're close. You're close. Ooh. The truth is culturally, we've been raised to be dignified and modest, right? And so when we look in that situation, women are 45% less likely to receive CPR because people don't want to expose their chest.
Oh, right? They're afraid to touch them.
Right, and they're afraid to touch them, and they're afraid to show breast tissue in public. But we have to remember in these life and death situations, it's not about modesty. It's about saving a life, because you can't do good CPR through a shirt and a bra that's holding things in place that keep you from being able to press where you need to press. I always joke that I'm going to tattoo right above the bra line, let them fly or else I'll die.
Well, it's such a culture nowadays. Everybody has their phone out and they're getting video, and you're like, oh, I'm going to end up on social media.
You're exactly right. And we have to recognize in these moments that, number one, we need to be kind to each other. But number two, the chance of someone surviving in a CPR situation, you've only got minutes before the person is going to die. So one of the things that we think about is, yes, we're so afraid of being sued. We're afraid of liability in these situations. We're afraid of doing the wrong thing. But the truth is, what we do in those first moments makes the difference between life and death. A person's chance of survival actually drops by 10% for every 1 minute of delay.
Oh, no.
So if you wait for EMS to arrive, 8.5 to 10 minutes later, they're 85% to 100% dead, right? So in these situations, that's why we want to draw awareness into this hands-only CPR. I would love to have you at one of our classes. We offer them every week for CPR. But until then, God forbid you're in a horrible situation, I want you to understand and have the power and the understanding to know that bad CPR is better than no CPR, and it can save a life.
Medicaltraining.me to check out the courses.
You'll never find a more funny and more informative instructor than Melissa. You will have a good time and learn.
And it'll be completely inappropriate. It'll be so much fun.
Exactly. If we're not having fun, I'm not doing it.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Any parting words?
Remember, don't redneck it to the hospital. I want you to call 911.